Good morning.
Good morning, Father. How are you?
Congratulations, you are a model of punctuality. So the teacher is happy because my students are punctual, a long time. So we pray to have the light of the Holy Spirit, pray for peace also. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and in the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom,
Pray for us.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
You can sit there, Papa, because it's not comfortable there. Huh? Be comfortable. Okay, this morning we begin the third part of the program. We have already done two, and now we begin the third part. And the third part is about reasoning. So we saw the two first operations of the mind. And we are studying how we think, the way we think, not at the point of view of causality, like we do in philosophy of man, but the point of view of grammar, if you want, the grammar of thinking. What is the grammar? It is the study, studying the way you talk, the way you write in your own language. So when the way we talk, the grammar of thinking is logic. And we saw the first operation of the mind, and it is to understand. And the fruit of that operation is the concept. A concept, a definition of a thing. And the concept is expressed through a word or term, because sometimes we use many words to say a thing, express a concept. The second operation, we saw that. It is judging. The judgment, it is to put together many concepts, predicate and subject. And what is the expression of the judgment?
Proposition.
Proposition. Proposition. That is the verbal expression. The verbal expression of concept is the word or the term. Judgment is the proposition. And finally, this morning we begin to study the expression of reasoning, which is syllogism or demonstration. But demonstration has a special name we give syllogism. In fact, when we judge, for example, you say, my coffee is cold. That's a judgment, my coffee is cold. How can you say that your coffee is cold? You must have a reason for that, no? That means every time we judge, we should have a reason. That means the judgment is the result of a reasoning. It is what we are studying now. How we can arrive to affirm something. Because we cannot affirm anything without reason. When you were young, you're still young. When you were very young, sometimes you did not like to go to school. No, everybody will. But sometimes maybe you were tempted not to go to school. And you say to Mama, Mother, Mommy, oh, I don't feel well. I think I am feverish. No, I am sick. I cannot go to school. What did your mother do? She took a thermometer and she said, watch a minute. Hey, 98, go run, the bus is coming. Oh no, call the doctor. Oh, my son is, maybe say Ebola. No. When we affirm, I am sick, you have to prove that. You know, when an employee, he says, he called his boss, said, today I am sick and I cannot go to work. But in fact, he is going fishing. What the boss require? A doctor paper. The doctor should give you a paper saying you are sick. You cannot go to work today. So we affirm nothing without a reason. But the reason can be obtained through a reasoning, or the reason can be obtained directly through intuition. That means do I reason to affirm that I have 17 students in my class here? No, it is in front of me. I see that. It is called intuition. So we can affirm something through intuition. From intuition. You know, you walk in the, you go in the Appalachian Mountain. You contemplate the little beards, and suddenly you don't see a bird, you see a bear in front of you. Do you reason to say, there is an animal here? No, you have a direct knowledge, there is a bear. And you run. Okay, so that is the way. But we don't affirm everything from intuition. I don't reason, for example, that some have a white dress, other a red dress, or a brown dress, or black. No, I don't reason for that. But if I have no direct evidence of the thing, no intuition, I have to reason. And that, so the judgment can come from intuition or come from reasoning. Reasoning. And that we have to study. So we saw in philosophy of man, remember, those are me, a sensation is a direct intuition. We don't reason, we receive. But when something is not here, you go, you arrive in your room when you were 10 years old, and you see all your toys, everything on the floor. So you reason, and what is the question? You say, who did that? Why? There's a mess in my room. And you search, if you have a little brother, you say, you did that. That happened to me. I was 10 years old and I have to go to school. And when I was at school, my little sister, the 6'1", she was maybe 2.5 or 3 years old. She took my Monopoly. I have received a Monopoly. You know, Monopoly, capitalist game, proper to capitalism. There is nothing exists in Vietnam, I'm sure. Communists don't accept Monopoly. So, and what she did, she took my dollar, you know, because I don't have dollar in my wallet. We have a lot of dollar in Monopoly, and she threw that out. The whole house. Everywhere there was, she was so happy to give money to everyone. When I came, I saw all that mess. My beautiful Monopoly game was completely a mess. Who did that? You know? So I did not see that directly, but I reasoned to a crime. Continually we do that. But many information, we have many judgments we affirm. We have not a direct knowledge of that. We know that through reasoning. Through reasoning. For example, did you ever see your grandfather? No, you have no direct intuition of your grandfather. But you know he existed, no? You know that by reasoning. No, it's common sense, no? Many things. So what is reasoning? That is the object of our... Reasoning is to go from something we know towards something we don't know. Reasoning is answering a question. Every time we reason, we answer the question. For example, your mother wrote to the teacher, "My son is sick because yesterday he ate too much chocolate." So the teacher received that. You are in 3rd grade. She knows why you are not in the class. Because you ate too much chocolate. You were a glutton. So yesterday. So there is no affirmation without a reason. Otherwise, the affirmation has no value. Has no value. There must be a reason. As long as you don't have a reason, your affirmation is empty. Okay? You have to prove that. You have to prove that. So reasoning, it is to answer a question, it is to solve a problem. When you have a problem in the kitchen, cooking, or a problem in your iPad or your computer, any problem in your stomach, you search for a solution, you have to reason. No? You have to reason. You have a headache, you say, headache. I have a headache, I have to study logic of this stuff. In fact, it is logic that makes me have a headache. So I have to find a solution to that. You know, when somebody has a headache, he uses Tylenol. Oh, I have Tylenol in my pharmacy. I will take Tylenol. When you want your soup be tasty, you have to put some herb, some spices, not marijuana, but other herbs, mint, that give, you apply, continually you apply. But we don't express that. If I tell you, now you have to write me 5 lines about what is reasoning. What you will do? You will take your pencil, no? When you take your pencil, you obey a universal principle. What is a universal principle? When someone wants to write, must use a tool. I want to write, so the tool I will use may be my pencil or my computer. In fact, it is unconscious, but it is, I think, conscious. It is there. We reason as much as we judge. Or we judge and more continually. That means when we are awakened, we are continually reasoning. That function continually. You want to go to the refectory. If I want to go to the refectory, I must put one foot in front of the other. Yeah, it's true. If you don't obey the general principle, you will never go to the refectory. But in fact, you apply a universal principle implicitly. A lot of time we apply, those who smoke, the principle. Everyone who wants to smoke must use a cigarette. He must use a cigarette and a match. So I have to put on the match, put fire on my cigarette. Do you reason like that? Yes, but you don't express that. In fact, your action answers a reasoning. Is the reason why, when you smoke, it is a reasonable action. Because you use your reason. When you eat, it is reasonable because it answers a universal principle. So in every reasoning, we start from a universal principle to arrive to apply that. And because we pass from the known to the unknown, we call that a discourse. A discourse. From the unknown, the known to the unknown. It is a passage from what we know to what we don't know. It's a passage, it's a motion. So, can God reason?
No.
No. God, he cannot reason. Why?
Because he knows everything.
Because he knows everything. So, it is a perfection for man to reason. But it is also a sign of imperfection. It is a sign of perfection. Why? Because your dog, your cat does not reason. Follow its instinct. Okay? Is the reason why it cannot improve his way of acting. We can improve because we reason. But reasoning expresses a perfection in man, but at the same time an imperfection. What is the meaning of imperfection? They mean not to be perfect. What is perfect? Perfect comes from Latin per ficere. Per ficere, I mean ficere. To do, to make. To make completely. So, I reason because I am not completely aware of knowing the reality. You know? So, it is a sign of perfection in regard of non-rational animal. It is our perfection. It is why? Because it is our specific difference. Our specific difference is not to judge, because God judges. It's not to know things, God knows. It is to reason. God does not reason, we reason. And because we are in time and space. It is our specific difference. But it is imperfect because if we reason because we don't know. If we don't, do you know, do you reason when you know something? No, you reason to solve the problem. When the problem is solved, when you know the thing, you don't reason. When you finish a problem of mathematics, do you continue to reason? No. You give the answer to the teacher. You reason before, when you write, it is finished. So we are at the same time, reasoning is a perfection for us, a sign of perfection, yet at the same time a sign of imperfection. That means we are on motion toward the truth, and it is an effort, a course, a run, to course means to run. And this course, interesting, this course it is to run, and this truth, it is to run through many affirmations to arrive to a conclusion. Think about, for example, a trial. A trial is a long syllogism. A gangster, somebody committed a crime, murder, and you have to prove he is guilty. The conclusion is guilty or is not guilty. That's the conclusion. But all the rest is the demonstration. So you have to pass through many proofs, many reasoning, many demonstrations. Finally, to arrive. Think about John. What is the footballer? Johnson. Simpson. Huh? Not the Simpson.
Oh, Jay Simpson.
Jay Simpson.
Yeah.
Jay Simpson. Okay. So next, reasoning is we use other word, argumentation. Argumentation. We use the word inference. Well, I will explain that soon. Inference. That means the link between the reasoning, what we know, and what we arrive to know, the new, and the link between the known and the unknown. A demonstration. Okay. And when you understand from a reasoning, you understand, you have the insight. The insight, it is, remember when I know what is a thing, I abstract, Eureka, Mr. Archimedes, I have the insight. What is the principle of hydrostatic? Or I have the insight when I judge. I have the insight also when I reason. That means the conclusion follows necessarily from the premises. And what is the reasoning? Reasoning, in fact, it is to pass from what we know to something we don't know. That means what we know is preparing, is causing the effect, which is the conclusion. So the link between what I know and the conclusion, that link is a link of causality. In philosophy, we study causality. That means the conclusion flowing from a reasoning is necessary. It is a consequence, it is the result, it is the fruit, it is the result of the reasoning. It is effect. The conclusion is an effect. Okay, so now I will try to understand with you from an example what is syllogism, what is reasoning. I start from a fact in my life as a teacher, that my students are joyful when they receive a good mark. I think that it's true everywhere, no? No? You are not joyful, you cry? You cry your joy, of course. Okay, so what is the affirmation here? What do I affirm? What is my conclusion?
Students are joyful.
Yes, my students are joyful. My students are joyful. Are you satisfied with that?
No. Why? Why are they doing it?
Exactly. Why they are joyful? Maybe because they have they receive ice cream. Maybe because they have a good news. Tomorrow there will be no class of logic. So we search for why. That means we search for a link between the subject and the predicate. So in every judgment, you remember, a judgment is a link or a separation between a subject and a predicate. Huh? That is a judgment. Now, why I can't say that? Why I can say they are combined or they are excluded, separated? What is the reason for that? If you look at here, that phrase, what is the reason? Why?
Because they
Be-
obtain good plastic.
Causa.
Cause.
When you say that, you affirm the causality, even Mr. Hume. Mr. Hume, who denied causality, I am sure when he speaks English, he says because. He denied causality, but he says because. Okay? So, because indicate the reason why. So the why, the reason why, is here. It's interesting, the reason why. Reasoning. In fact, what is reasoning? It is to search the reason why the predicate is united to a subject. Now, look at that here. Here we have student, subject. Because they obtain good grade. Who is they?
The student.
The student. Therefore, it is the subject. Ah, interesting. So I can write, my student obtained good grade.
So,
I can say that, no? It's the same thing, no? What is essentially the why? Where is the why?
Obtain.
Obtain good grade. So we can say my students are those who obtain good grade. All that, those who obtain good grade, is one term, one term. With many words, one term. Okay? What is student? It is the subject. What is joyful? Predicate. What is good grade? Middle term. Middle between the subject and the predicate. In fact, the why, the middle term, we call that the middle term, is the bridge. Is the bridge uniting the predicate to the subject. Or the absence of bridge, because can be absence of bridge also. Some students are not joyful because they did not obtain good grade. Okay? Okay, so I continue now. You have here the middle term. So the middle term, in fact, what I can see? I can see my student, because they obtain good grade, are joyful, you know, because they attain the bridge here. The fact of obtaining good grade allows me to affirm that the quality of being joyful is applied to the subject student. Okay? Now, when I say that my student obtained good grade, therefore, the symbol of therefore is like that, my students are joyful. But when I do that, I apply a universal principle. What is the universal principle here? Understood, but it's not expressed, but it's implicit. In every country in the world, everywhere, from the beginning of the world to the end of the world, all those who obtained good grade are joyful. So all those, whoever obtains or is obtaining good grade is joyful. And that is a general principle. Here it is the application of the general principle. Okay? And that is the conclusion. Okay? So every reasoning is made with that pattern. In every reasoning you have a universal principle. And that universal principle is applied to a special event, special fact. And from that there is a conclusion. Okay? Now I continue. That here, whoever obtained good grade, and those who attain good grade, it is the same idea, huh? The same. So we call that the middle term. Both are the middle term. So I have that pattern here. I have middle term P. It's called joyful is P. Huh? P. And I have here subject is M. So I can say the subject and the predicate are united. Why?
Right.
Because there is a middle term. So the middle term is really the bridge, huh? Or the absence of bridge if it is negation, allowing to affirm that the subject of the conclusion is linked with the predicate. That is the pattern for every syllogism. Every reasoning, you apply that. You have a general principle, and you apply that. Of course, most of the time we don't express it. Most of the time we use that form. We can antonyme. My students are joyful because they obtain grade, or because they attain grade, my students are joyful, or my student, because they attain a good grade, they are joyful. So you have three ways to say the same thing. But the most important, it is to find first the conclusion. The conclusion is the judgment. Yeah, that judgment is valuable if there is a reason to affirm the union of the predicate to the subject. If that reason is given by the middle term. And if you look here, it is clear that the middle term is linking the subject to the predicate. That is the perfect syllogism, the first figure, perfect syllogism. Okay, now I continue. In the middle term, we distinguish, in fact, two parts. We call the antecedent and the consequent. The antecedent, that means before the conclusion, all that here is called antecedent. And the conclusion is the consequent. Quent, not quents, quent. The consequent. Okay? That antecedent is made with two propositions. Two judgments. In fact, what is a reasoning? It is a series of judgments that are linked in such a way that they can produce a new judgment. No? A series of judgments linked in such a way that they produce a new judgment.
And that's antecedent, Father?
So that is antecedent, the two first three. Now, the general principle containing the predicate is called the major. We'll read that in yellow. The major. Well, so what is the major proposition? Is the proposition containing the predicate. And the other proposition, which is an application of the a definition of the subject of the conclusion, we call that minor. Minor. So we have those propositions. And those propositions, we call that also premises. Well, that comes from the Latin mito, to put. To put, mito, pre, before. Before what? Before the conclusion. So the major and the minor are called premises or antecedent. Huh? So the antecedent is made with two premises, the major and the minor. The major contains the predicate, the minor contains the subject. Be careful. It is not the place on the paper. I can have the major here and the minor above. What makes the major is not the position here. Major is the proposition containing the predicate of the conclusion. And the minor is the proposition containing the subject of the conclusion. In old time, when I was a young student, we did not use that. We said instead of subject here, we say little term and great term. But it was very confusing, so now I prefer the new method. The new method is to say the subject of the conclusion is in the premises, and the predicate of the conclusion is in the premises. Therefore, I have only to find the third one, which is the middle term. So when you know the subject and you know the predicate, what you have to do to find the middle term. So when you study a syllogism, a reasoning, for example, here, my students are joyful, the subject, students, the predicate, joyful. You have to find a middle term, and that middle term is here, because they obtain.
So the middle term is part of the consequent? Or no?
Never. Good question. Good question. Because it is a law. The middle term never enters the conclusion. Why? Because is the reason why the subject is united to the subject. So the middle term cannot be the predicate, it cannot be the subject, it must be outside of the, necessarily the middle term is in the major and the minor, both. Both, because if he's not in the both, the same meaning, the middle term must have the same meaning here and here. Okay. You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I can, for example, I will write here a reasoning in mathematics, for example. What is the conclusion?
5
Plus
plus
5.
5
plus 3
plus 3
equal 4.
equal
4.
4. Why can you say that?
Because 8 is a
8
middle
is
term.
very middle.
Okay.
Oh,
So you see that.
Because
But in fact, is it possible to have another answer than that? Can I say, for example, that is different? Can I say that?
No.
No.
So the conclusion is nécessaire. The conclusion is nécessaire. You cannot say otherwise. It's very strong, huh? Necessary. But how can you know that the conclusion follows necessarily from the premises? How we can know that? Is it written on the paper? Here. That is the insight. You understand or you don't understand. The current passes or the current does not pass. And that we call that inference. The inference is the logical link making the conclusion necessary. And that is not on the paper. It is so true that sometimes, if you taught mathematics, for example, you can give to your student the question and the answer. I did that for you. You have the question of Sister Spangler. I gave you the answer. You have sometimes what happened? You have the question, you have the answer, you cannot make the link, no? Happens sometimes? You say, how is it possible that Sister Spengler? The answer is that in the question. Sometimes you cannot find the inference. Well, you remember when you studied geometry, you have theorem, huh? And sometimes you learn by heart the theorem. By heart, you can recite everything. You understand nothing. No? I thought in mathematics I know that. Some students, they know almost all the theorem by heart, but they don't understand. That means they have the reasoning, they don't have the inference. Or if you want, they don't have the insight. You know, for example, I teach physics. Huh? Oh, I give you an example. I take a little reservoir, metal reservoir, here. I put water in that. I boil water. And when it is filled with vapor, I put that in the cold water. What happened? The can is crushed like a paper. Student, oh, Father, oh. Yes, but explain me that. They saw the conclusion, but they cannot make the link. What I want as a teacher, I want to understand the link, the reason why the can in metal suddenly is compressed. It's very spectacular. If you want to interest students, do that experience, because nothing is very easy. But you have to know that if there is absence of air in your can, the pressure so we have the inference. You can see many experiences we don't understand. For example, I ask you, why, when you put your clothes on a ring, on a rope, to make them dry, why they dry? So to explain it, you must know the law of calorimetry. The vapor, the wind, or the factor passing a cloth which is wet to a cloth that is dry. You know, you must have the inference, and that is in your mind. The inference is the seizing, the grasping of the necessary link between the premises and the conclusion. And that is different from consequence. Sometimes in some books, they call inference consequence. Consequence. Here is consequence. But inference. Or also, that inference, that insight, that is consequence, is the effect. And that is the cause. The cause producing an effect. But it is only your mind can seize the intellectual link between that. Your cat or a student can see very well my tin can crush like that. You can see that. Someone understands, they have the link of causality, causal effect, and the other are there like fish in the aquarium. They say, oh, it's funny, Father, very funny, but you don't understand. You catch that. Huh? It's very important because that is the soul of the syllogism. And the soul of syllogism is the inference. Huh? We can say that the soul is to the body like the inference is to the premises, or the proposition, the premises. What gives the premises an effect? It is the soul. It is the inference. It is the cause, the link of causality. Well, another example. Well, you arrive in the kitchen and you see a piece of glasses on the floor. So you see the effect. You try to find the link of causality guiding you to the cause. In fact, when we are searching for a cause, we are searching for the cause as producing an effect. That means a cause exists only in the measure it produces an effect. That means there is a link, an essential link between of causality between the effect and the cause. There is a necessary link between the conclusion and the premises. And that necessary link, seized by my intellect, here, you call that the inference, the inference. In fact, you can have a good reasoning if you don't understand. I can have a good student, he can write all the theorem, geometry, but he learned by heart, he cannot explain. It is what I will ask you when you explain to me what is knowledge, the philosophy of man. You can know by heart everything. I will try to find if you understand. You can recite by heart from the first page to the next, but I will listen to you. Oh, beautiful. Can you explain why that? What is the need of causality between the phantasm and the intellect agent? Philosophy, metaphysics is different from phenomenology. Phenomenology, it is to say how things are, how they function. Metaphysics go to the causality. That's the difference between phenomenology and metaphysics. And many philosophers, they don't want to go to metaphysics. They want to stay only on phenomenology, description of the thing. Because to go to causality, that implication after, consequences. Okay? So you can read that. It is that kind of syllogism is called categorical syllogism. Categorical. That means we affirm. And the other kind of syllogism we study in next week is hypothetical syllogism. We suppose if you study well, you will have good grade. If you don't study well, you will not have good grade. That is hypothetical. That means the conclusion depends on if you will do or not. You know, when it is categorical, it is a fact. That's the difference. My students are joyful because there is a fact. And what is the fact? It is they have good grade. If my students study well, they will be happy. They will be joyful. It's not a fact. It is a supposition, hypothesis. You know? So we have two kinds of syllogism. For the moment, we study categorical. Category comes from division, division of being. In fact, categorical syllogism are directly linked with truth. But a syllogism, in the law of syllogism are not clear with truth, but the content. In logic, we don't study the content. We don't study if it is true or not. I can say to you, for example, all men are angels. Seminarians are men. Therefore, seminarians are angels. And if you analyze that, it's a perfect syllogism. Subject here, distributed, all seminarian. The predicate here is undistributed, the predicate here is undistributed, and the middle term is distributed at least once. So it's perfect, it's valid. It's not true. So syllogism, we make a difference between the validity and the truth of a syllogism. And when you, be careful, when you analyze a syllogism, you analyze the form, the law, and not the content. So you can have a wrong content, but a good reasoning. That happens when we start from wrong premises. If the conclusion is not true, It is because one of the premises here is not true, or the middle term is not valuable, is not true. You know? But that is not the problem of logic. Logic is studying the validity of the reasoning. Okay? Now, in fact, what is the most important term in the syllogism?
The middle.
Middle term. So when you study a syllogism, you have to find the middle term. How can you find the middle term? First, you have to find the conclusion. What is the conclusion? And from the conclusion, you find the middle term because it is the third thing. In fact, every syllogism is made with 3 terms and 3 propositions. 3 terms: subject, predicate, and middle term. And 3 propositions, major, containing the predicate, minor, containing the subject and the conclusion. Okay? Now you go to the observation. It is on page 64. From what we saw, we can have some. First, the predicate of the conclusion is in the non-general principle. That means the predicate is in the major, the universal. That's the first constatation. Secondly, the subject of the conclusion is in the defined. It is in the minor. In fact, the minor define what is the subject. Defined, because the middle term is qualifying the subject. And finally, the middle term is in the major and in the minor. 4, at least one of the premises must be universal. We must have a universal, a major here, which is a universal principle, a general principle. Otherwise, if we have only a particular principle, you cannot conclude. You must have a general principle. If you see, for example, some students are happy when they receive good grade. Some students, that means some are not. My students are happy, yes, maybe they are, some are at the group of happy, the other group unhappy. So we cannot start from a particular truth. We must start from a universal truth. So normally the major normally is universal. Is A or E. Continue. 5. The 2 premises constitute the antecedent. We saw that. The conclusion is the consequent. And the consequence is the logical link we call inference. And that inference is the insight. And finally, 8. The movement is a discourse from node to a node. It is the summary of what I saw with you since the beginning of the class. Okay? Now, I continue. The antecedent is made with premises. The consequence, the conclusion. The inference is the logical. So we have in 3 terms and 3 propositions. And what is characteristic of the 3 terms? One must be used twice. It must be in the 2 propositions. It must be a bridge. A bridge must be on both sides of the river, no? If you visit Avignon in France, Avignon, the city of the Pope, a bridge exists there, built by Saint Benezet in the Middle Age, but the bridge is not finished. The bridge begins here, and the river is here. The bridge finishes here. In fact, is it a true bridge? No, because the bridge must unite the 2 banks of the river. You know? But that is very known because people they go to say to Avignon, they want to that special bridge that was never finished. Huh? Okay, unfinished bridge, like the unfinished symphony of Schubert. Huh? Okay, so the major term is the predicate of the conclusion. Major term. What is the major term? The major term is the predicate. What is the minor term? It is the subject. But now we use only subject and predicate, okay? Okay, here I get the, you know, the reason why. You remember I spoke to you when we study the property of man, that man has the property of laughing. Huh? So I sent, not sent, the blessed Bartholomew de las Casas when he went to Valladolid for the trial to know if the Indians are intelligent or human or not, and they must laugh. You remember that? Mm-hmm. But they did not laugh, except when the nuncio fall on his bottom. So, okay, now we can represent those propositions by, we call the circle of Euler. Euler is a Swiss mathematician in the 18th century, and he tried to represent many things through, to visualize mathematics. Huh? To visualize mathematics, Euler. So if I say, for example, all students are happy. Suppose I read that, okay? So if I say that, the subject is distributed, the predicate is undistributed, and we saw that last week, 2 weeks ago, you remember? The circle, you have all happy being, angel, God, if it's my dog, and among them you are student here. So student is distributed. It is happy is undistributed because he apply only to a part of that. All those who are happy are only applied to a part of. Well, that is the, and we can represent negation by exclusion. If I say some students are not happy, so that means some students, among all the students, some students are outside of those who are happy. Well, we saw that. And we can apply that to logic also. Okay? Now, if I say all students are happy, of course, if I say all students are happy, some students will be happy. We saw that last week, no? Mm-hmm. A, I, O. What is true of the universal is true of the particular. You remember? Truth, testament. We call that here dictum de omni. Dictum, that means said. Dictum means said. Said. De, about. Omni, that means all. Dictum de omni. Omni, all. That means what is said of all is said of the part. And that is a principle. What is true for, we are 17 students here. If I say all students are attentive, it is true that some students are attentive. Okay? Dictum de omni also, here it is dictum de nullo. What is said of nothing, in general, it is said of something also. What is denied of the whole is denied of the part. Nullo, that means nothing in Latin, nothing. So if the whole is denied, for example, if I say no seminarian is happy, I say that is true. It will be true that some seminarians are not happy. I deny happiness for the whole. I deny happiness for someone. You understand that? Yeah. Dictum de omni, dictum de nullo. Even if you don't understand Latin, you can understand logic. Okay, I go now to page 69. So I already spoke about that, the form and the matter. So the syllogism study the validity. It is valid or not valid. You remember, all seminarians are angels. Or all men are angels. Some seminarians, no? Is that true? No. Okay, I will change. I will say, all sisters are angels.
Oh.
Father.
So, no, they are Some sisters are tired, I say seminarians, I will say some sisters. I will say some seminarians are distracted, some sisters are attentive. Okay, so the form and the matter. So the form of the syllogism is the study of the validity, if it is valid or non-valid. And the matter is the content. Example, every man is an angel, Paul is a man, Paul is an angel. That is valid, but it is not true. The form is valid, but the content is not true. Okay? And at the end of the class, the last chapter, chapter 14, but that is not in the book of Sister Spangler, I give you a class on material logic. And material logic is about the content, okay, the matter, material logic. But we are studying now formal logic, formal logic. Okay? Another example, every immortal being is incorruptible, every human soul is incorruptible, therefore every human soul is immortal. So here, you know, it is good. Why? Because 2 times the middle term is undistributed. But the conclusion is true. The conclusion is true. So I mean that the content is true, but the form is invalid. Okay? It's invalid. So the distinction between truth and validity. So you can, for example, I asked you a question at the examination. You say, Father, that is not true. For me, it's a no value. You must say that is not valid. It can be untrue and valid. Okay? Sometimes some teachers, they are fun. If they do on purpose to make syllogisms that are not true, but they are valid. And many students, they fall on the trap, in the trap. Huh? They say it's not valid because it's not true. No. There is a distinction between truth and validity. It's different. Huh? Okay? I go now to page 70. So I'm sure you will reread that, assimilate that. I give you the essential, and after you can recognize and understand better what you have on your test. Now, we have to study the figure of the syllogism. Well, to be frank with you, it is not necessary to study the figure of syllogism to analyze syllogism. You can analyze any syllogism without knowing the figure of syllogism if you know the rule of syllogism. But because you want to know, I will explain you the figure of syllogism. It is interesting because sometimes in some texts they use some expression. For example, they would say a syllogism in Barbara, a syllogism in Celaren. You must know at least what meaning Barbara and Celaren. Barbara is not a woman, it's a kind of syllogism. Okay. Okay, so what makes the figure of syllogism is the position of the middle term. The figure depends on the position of the middle term. And the middle term in the major and the middle term in the minor. Okay, I go to your text you have here. And by the way, you have to make a correction on page 70. It is written, those dictators, and between brackets it is written singular. 2 times. That is not good. It is particular. Okay? Particular. And then they send it particular. Okay? And everybody correct that. You see that? Okay. Here. Okay, I say, every man is mortal. Those dictators are men. conclusion, those dictators are mortal. Bon. If you look at it, is exactly what I told you as the perfect syllogism, the best syllogism. Why it is best? Because the middle term is in the center. And you see clearly that the middle term is a bridge between the subject and the predicate. It is really that form, we call that subject, pre. Because in the first proposition, man is the subject of the proposition, and in the second, man is the predicate. So we call that pre. Pre in Latin, in English is pre, in Latin, pre. Okay? That means the first figure is sub pre. Major, the middle term is sub, the main subject, and the minor is predicate. First figure. Okay? It is the perfect syllogism. And the middle term is actually, really, actual means really, in the middle. You look at that, you say, yes, that is the bridge between the predicate and the subject. Okay? First figure. It is the perfect figure. And when you have to write a syllogism, use that. You're sure you will be okay. The perfect. In fact, every other form can be transformed into the first form. Okay? It is the model of all figure. Because the omnu et nullu. That means what is said of the whole is said of the part. Okay. First, look at after that. All robins are migratory. They immigrate. This bird is a robin, therefore this bird is mine. So, you know, that is obvious. That is the application of the omni. That means all migrator, and you have robin, and you have birds. So among the migrator, you have the robin. What is true of the old is true of the part. What is true of the old is true of the part. So this bird is migratory because the bird is a robin, and the robin are migratory. Okay. Second, it is pre-pre. What is the meaning of pre-pre? Pre means predicate. That means the middle term will be 2 times predicate. That means the predicate will be major and sub finally. That is the second figure. So 2 times, look at that now, look at that. What is here, the extension of middle term? Distributed or undistributed?
Undistributed.
What is the extension of middle term?
Undistributed.
Is it good?
Yes.
No. Because that is very, very, very important. In the syllogism, the middle term must be necessarily at least once distributed. Universal. Okay? So that means that is not good. But how we can make that good? You can make that good saying or no? Because if you have a negation, so in the second figure, you are obliged to have at least one negation. To make the middle term distributed at least once. Okay? Here the same thing, at least once. So that is a characteristic of pre-pre. 2 times predicate, but it must at least be once negative. Otherwise, is not valid. Huh? And many, many times the mistake, when you analyze a syllogism, many times the mistake is A. Many, many, many times. Many times. Okay? For example, you see, a cat is a feline, a lion is a feline, therefore a cat is a lion. Huh, you see?
No.
Cat is feline, lion is feline. Can you say that a cat is a lion?
No.
Because undistributed. Not because it's be careful. Don't answer, it is not true. It's not a good answer in logic. If you say that, you have 0. You understand, huh? We are inclined to say it's not true. A cat is not a lion. You're right, but it's not what I want to do. I want to know why. Because the middle term is twice undistributed. Okay? That is the second figure. Huh? The second figure. Here we have you have an example. Every seminarian is baptized. No, excuse me. No cow is a carnivore. Every cat is a carnivore, therefore no cat is a cat. Or no cow is a cat. Huh? Because E can be changed to E. Huh? Okay? Finally, 3. The third is sub-sub. What is the meaning of sub? Subject. Huh? Subject. So the middle term will be subject. So that is the figure. For example, every seminarian is baptized. Every seminarian is studying priesthood. Therefore, some studying priesthood is baptized. Or we can say also some baptized is seminarian. Why? Because I can be changed to I. Well, in that kind of proposition, you know, you have here distributed. Okay? You follow me?
Yeah.
Important. Try to understand. Huh? Because it is A and A. Every seminarian. Huh? Okay? Now, what is the extension of undistributed? Undistributed. What is the extension here? Undistributed. A. If it is undistributed, can I say every?
No.
I must say
So,
some. So that allows, and that the third figure, if you have two affirmatives, necessarily your conclusion will be particular, will be I. I. If you write a negation, suppose you have that here, and next one, we try. Okay? Well, what is the extension of P here? Distributed. P here is distributed. What is the extension of SE? E would be, some I must say, some are not. Huh? Some are not. Okay? If I go here, predicate is undistributed. The subject is distributed. Okay? So the subject is distributed. The predicate here is negation distributed. Is it good?
Yeah. No.
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 Why is not good?
Too much.
Because in the conclusion, the predicate has more extension than in the major, in the premises. Okay? Because I will ask you to say it is valid or not, but I will ask you why. And you have to give me the right reason. Here, the reason is because the predicate has more extension in the conclusion than in the premises, the premise of the major. Okay? So, if you read that here, you have some studying for priesthood is baptized, some baptized is one studying for priesthood. Okay? That is valid. that is valid, but we cannot. That means the minor cannot be negative. And the minor here cannot be negative. It will be one of the law, because after that, next week we will try to find the laws of the figure. Already we found someone. For example, we found here that the minor cannot be negative. Because if the minor is negative, the predicate will have more extension in the conclusion than in the premises. And when I do that with you, I teach you how to criticize syllogism. What you know? You know, first, you must have at least twice the middle term, at least once unique person. If the middle term is twice undistributed, is invalid. And the term must not have more extension in the conclusion than in the premises. Is the reason why you have to verify one by one, one by one. And if there is more, it is not valid. And finally, okay, there is a remark here. The second and the third figure are called imperfect, because the first is perfect. The first is perfect. Why? Because at first sight, when you look at it, it is clear that the middle term is the bridge. Is the link, or is separating or uniting at first sight, you see. In such an event, as we saw for two figures, they can be reduced to the perfect figure by conversion. That means we can convert the proposition. For example, here I can convert that. What I will do, because if I write MD is a non-SD, I can say also SD is non-MD. I can convert, and I will obtain that. But if I do that, I don't have the second figure. I will have another figure. I will have pre-sub or sub-pre, the first figure. Finally, in fact, Aristotle stopped there. Aristotle did not speak about the fourth figure. That means pre-sub. He will not speak about that. Why? Because pre-sub, in fact, can be changed into sub-pre. You have only to inverse the major to the minor. It's finished. In fact, there is three figure of proposition. The first, the perfect, is sub-pre. The second is sub-sub. Pre-pre. The third is sub-sub. And the fourth one, pre-sub, in fact, can be transformed into sub-pre. For example, here, look at that. All gossipers are dangerous people. All dangerous people are undesirable. Some undesirable are gossipers. I can change that. And what was the major? I make the minor. I say all dangerous people are undesirable. And not I have sub-pre. So, in fact, the fourth figure can be converted to the first immediately by interchanging the major and the minor. That is not difficult. So now you have an idea of what we call the figure. And the fourth figure is attributed to a monk of the Middle Age called Galen. We call that a Galenic figure. That figure was not, I told you, studied by Aristotle. Because in fact, three figures cover everything. So what you can do to prepare the next class, you read the rule for syllogism and the mode of syllogism, and try to make some exercise. In fact, what did you know? I hope we are using continually what we study when you study proposition. Distributed, undistributed. When we study from truth, universal truth to particular truth. In fact, the more we continue, you will realize the more we use those concepts we studied before. Is the reason why I insisted so much on the part of proposition, because syllogism is made with proposition. Okay, now you are allowed, according to St. Paul, to have a good meal.
Saturday?
Meat,
For what?